Hi, and hello, neighbor. This is Heidy Panameno, your host for Social Practices in the House of Wisdom, a podcast that talks about many topics, including the isolation that continues its practice in silo mentality planning in the city of Red Deer. This video podcast will feature lost, forbidden, and misunderstood practices that will reignite the imagination of our citizens and invite them to reinvent their history for a sustainable future. The guests selected for this podcast are people who have businesses, organizations, and are citizens of an invested interest in the development of our community. Each segment will be 30 minutes long. The House of Wisdom is an ancient tradition where knowledge is kept and preserved, and this is what this podcast will achieve through promoting healthier social practices. Your involvement will help us decide and gauge where our community is at when it comes to public engagement in the area of practicing an inclusive community voice. Our first speaker is Deborah Gregson, who has been recently awarded $1.9 million by the Housing Initiative to create a healing space/hotel for people who are transitioning from drug addiction or homelessness. She brings years of experience, having done this in Fort McMurray, and is a project that was previously funded by one of our StoryHive documentaries and directed by myself. Deborah will discuss the need for more permanent solutions to the housing crisis here in Red Deer. Deborah is the owner of Hearth Social Profit Company, and she will be discussing ways that we can create this here with a company called Do More Good. Deborah is also a musician and a wonderful addition to our community. In episode 2, we will be featuring the voice of local business owner and musician David Gilmore. He will discuss the importance of the arts of the people in our city, especially youth. His Guitar for Kids program has been providing instruments for young people in our city for many years and continues to promote means of communication through the arts and healthier mental health skills through expression. David Gilmore is also a host of a podcast called Live at David Gilmore, who features local musicians and provides a place and voice for creativity in our city. Episode 3, Stigma Grow, is a cannabis company which is leading the way in full-spectrum, high-terpene cannabis extraction and cultivation here in Red Deer, Alberta, providing education for people who choose to consume cannabis for medicinal or recreational purposes. It's an important component for their engagement in the community. Stigma Grow is an all-opportunity employer and has continually exceeded sales in 8 provinces and is an award winner in its field. Kim McIntyre is the VP of Sales and a speaker for Stigma Grow. She will share the company's progress, educational component, which is important because our community is still plagued by the stigmas over a plant that neither harms nor addicts. She will also be speaking about company policies regarding working with younger people and a younger staff and all their needs. Our 4th episode features Sabrina Samuel, who is a local talk show host. She talks about community topics, about mental health, and on her show, she has hosted a diverse number of speakers who have brought forth topics that affect the people of Red Deer. Sabrina was recently awarded an arts grant for her poetry, and she is an avid supporter of arts in our city. And as a social event planner and a community builder, she is a recognized face in our community. In episode 5, Bonnie McRae and Sharon Crook are a duo combo of women practicing pagan and druid rituals here in Red Deer. They both host events that cater to different methods of worship for a lost way of teaching. They pass down education about herbal medicine, reaffirmation methods of empowerment, and love, kindness to others. This power team keep Celtic traditions alive for anyone for a desire to learn them. For many years, they have held gatherings for all people wishing to connect to self and their own history through the gateway of faith and spiritual worship in a pagan fashion. In episode 6, we speak with Renee Michalak, who's been carrying the torch for Rethink Red Deer for many years now. He has been operating this nonprofit out of Red Deer, and it creates food security as a sustainability for our community. He focuses on the education of food security, climate change practices, and things to teach people how to grow their own food and eat healthier diets. His work with the yearly Energy Fair and the Piper Creek Gardens, including the Common Ground Gardens, entice people to become involved in their community. In episode 7, we will speak with Skylar Reneseth, who is a video podcast speaker and an accounting student who is proud to represent Generation Z. He is also a gamer, and he will speak about social connections in the gaming world and how these relationships are sustaining a population of people who are physically and socially disconnected from society, and oftentimes. He's a graduate of 2020, and he has endured online education. He will share how this experience affected his development and advance his understanding of needing change to social practices. He will include the pros and cons of growing up online and share his thoughts on what the future holds for people growing up in this reality. And I look forward to hearing your comments about the other episodes so that we can all learn from each other in an inclusive and respectful way. Thank you so much for supporting us and for being a member of our community, and we are grateful to have you here. Let me share a little bit of history about myself and the work that I've been involved in the past 7 years here in Red Deer, Alberta. My work has been in film and television. I've had the privilege of working with wonderful, talented artists in our community, and as well as motivated and determined, dedicated citizens who work in nonprofit. And I believe that is the backbone of our community. Through my years, I've discovered that Red Deer is a community that is full of wonderful people who just want to work hard to build the networks that we require to support the rest of the community and citizenship, which is what I'm hoping to gain from you as I share with you these stories and hear back from you about these golden nuggets of wisdom that we are talking about here in our community. Red Deer might be over 100,000 people, but it still has that small community mentality. And in order to be able to support each other as much as possible, we need to create practices that work for our community in a way that we can start doing our part as each other's neighbor and as invested citizens. I'll start with a short bio of the work that I've done. My first film is Breaking Stigmas. It is a film about cultural identity so that our young people in our community, first, second, third generations, can have an opportunity to look back at their history and try to understand a little bit about where they come from, where their identity is originating. I feel that our parents have grown up in a different world, and we are in something different and very special at this time. We do need a solid way to move forward, and sometimes looking back is the way that leads us there. Here's a short clip that will help you understand a little bit more about this documentary.
Our people, as the First Nations, have suffered a lot in the residential school system. Our people were victimized and abused, and many of them are stuck today in that pain that was created. And many of these people are stuck in that victimhood of blame and anger to cover the hurts of the past. And it's important to recognize things that happened 50 years ago doesn't mean that we have to stay stuck in that pain for 50 years. We can let that go, because many of our people have turned to the alcohol and the drugs to deal with that pain, to forget those experiences. And it's important that today we make healthy choices and choose to move forward in our life, and yet maintaining our cultures, our traditions of dance and song and ceremony. That's what we call healing. And healing means that we take ownership of who it is we are and what it is we create in our life. So it's important to create quality, which means that we choose to feel good instead of angry. And that is what brings health to many of our people, is to finding themselves in the form of their identity, recognizing who they are.
The second documentary in this series is Walking in Spirit. Captured in Masquachese, Mason Buffalo, an Indigenous leader in his community, hosted a rally that gathered citizens who had lost members of their families to suicide. This walk was important because it created healing within a community. It created a space for the conversation to begin about mental health and supported the members of the families who are survivors of this type of trauma. Walking in Spirit really opened my eyes to the struggles of the Indigenous communities and the support that they are needing when they are trying to help other citizens heal from this emotional trauma. We also did another film called Outside This Box, and this film is about red deer, this time in our struggles that we face when we don't work together as a team. So this particular film is local and is more of a red deer based, featuring many different nonprofits and businesses and organizations who are working together, honestly working their butts off to create sustainable practices here in our community. Last but not least is this podcast, Social Practices in the House of Wisdom, because I really feel that we can't really be 100% smart on our own. We actually need the support of our community, our ancestors, our mentors, our elders, our province, our government, our youth, because our youth are learning a lot faster now that they have all these resources, and we cannot dismiss them the way we have been, because they are our resource, they are our lifeline. And we have them here with us now, and we don't want to lose any more of them. I'm really excited about this podcast because it presents an idea to you that is something new, that is something special, that can be ongoing, that can bring in special guests and people that are learning how to create wisdom that we can share, practice, and keep a blueprint for our community so that we can work together to be that village that we hear so much about. It takes a village, they say. So our village has become very scattered in many ways because we have learned different ways of being and different ways of living versus a collective when we do things together. Now, I understand that that might sound foreign to a lot of people because we haven't been practicing it. We do events together and we move on to something else without practicing what we learned in our events in many times. So that is something that we need to keep in mind, is to keep things steady and growing and independent. We need to pass the torch on and keep those practices alive. I know this type of thinking isn't for everyone, but for those tuning in and listening and getting the message, it's for you. So enjoy. This is Heidy Panameno, your host for Social Practices in the House of Wisdom. Hi neighbor, and welcome to Social Practices. I am Heidy Panameno, your host, and I am here to do a little bit of a debriefing on the history of how I got here to be with you. And to help me out in this little what is it called? Memory lane flashback is my dear friend, Deborah Gregson, who is also one of my special guests on this podcast. It's going to be great. So, just wanted to get it started. So, Deborah, welcome, and thank you for helping me out with my projects and just with everything, in all honesty. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of catch up with you and talk about the process that we've kind of been through together, this long journey to get to the point now where we're actually seeing this ball getting momentum.
Okay, well, I'm going to start with just reminiscing a little bit about when we first met. And I was doing the Momentum Project, which you'll hear about a little bit later in in the series. And I had looked up community people, and Heidy's name came up, and somebody directed me to a Facebook page that you had, which was
Hello Neighbor.
Hello Neighbor, that's right. And that was that really drew me in. And so we decided to meet. And as soon as I met you, I knew this was no like fly by night meeting. We were meant to be connected, and then we started just talking about all of the things and community and all of the, and you have a story that got you to that moment as well, that you shared some of it with me and some of your history. So just tell us a little bit about that. What was happening so that to get you to that place where you had made Hello Neighbor and were ready to connect with me?
Right. Well, you know what's interesting is that I grew up in Red Deer. Okay, I came here in 1983, and I had been living in Calgary for quite some time after graduating from the Emily Carr University of Art and Design in Vancouver. Came back to Calgary and lived the life there for a while, got married, had a little girl, beautiful little girl, and then things be what they may, started getting a divorce and not really knowing what to do and wanting to have a place for my daughter to grow up with family, which happened to be in Red Deer. So coming back home, I felt like I wanted to do something special with my life, but I wasn't sure if I could do it in a small town. And, you know, a lot of us can relate to growing up in a small town. You just want to get out. But here I am coming back into this environment. And I was fortunate enough to be living up in Clearview, where they had the Michener lands. And at that time, the buildings that were there long ago, for almost 100 years, were all shut down, and it wasn't being productive in any way. So when we met, I was in the process of thinking, what can be done with this space? Like, why are we not having it used for, you know, like low-income housing? Why are we not using it for spaces that create community? Like, you know, here's an influx of refugees at that time from Afghanistan and from what other countries were they?
Oh my goodness, I don't even remember.
There were so many different places, and there was this place that was empty and no place to house them. And so we started talking to the city, who then sent us to the province, who then sent us back to the city, who this big circle. And then we discovered this little nest of improperly working systems. And so we thought, how can we, as two people, citizens, taxpayers in the community, help out our community? And we started coming up with ideas, and then you birthed DMG. Mm-hmm. Do more good. Very basic principle. And we were unsuccessful with securing the buildings because there was a plan to completely demolish them. Some of them were good, some of them were not so great, and the land was already scheduled to be used for something else. But unfortunately, that didn't happen for us. So we had to find other venues of creating what we wanted to see, which was a healing space for our community. So that is how we originally met, was with this vision to create something special in our city that would set a foundation for our youth, and a place where they could, you know, blueprint it so that we could then take it to other communities. And luckily, we had you, who had already started something similar in Grand Prairie, to bring the idea here home. With us meeting, a lot of things have come to fruition, working on different films and different projects, all to do with mental health and healing of a community, not just one person or one idea. It is a whole, not a silo, and that's one of the things that I'm constantly trying to break, is this mentality that we are all, you know, digging in this pie for the same funding, when we could be generating resources by pooling our energies together. Throughout the podcast, you'll learn from different organizations who are doing just that, building their network outside of their own little realm, and finding that they're so much more stronger as a whole than they would have ever been standing alone.
Absolutely. That connection isn't just the cure for addiction. It's the cure for silos.
Right?
It sounds kind of basic, but it's true.
Mm-hmm. And it hasn't been easy, working on the different documentaries that I've done, Breaking Stigmas to do with mental health and disassociation between cultural gaps. Generations of children growing up not knowing their language, not following their customs, and doing all the things that their parents did. In some cases, you just need to grow, but it's also good to hold on to your heritage and know who you are, where you come from, and to be able to have that knowledge in you makes you a strong person, because you are you're not a breed apart. You are a whole, and creating that wholeness is about incorporating different teachings, and not just of your own culture, but learning about Canadian culture and who are the fabric, who makes up this fabric of Canadian culture. So that was a very important documentary. We walked in spirit with Mason Buffalo in Maskwacis, and in that area in Ponoka, where we talked about the mental health of our Indigenous communities, which was a really, really eye-opener, really wonderful experience. And outside this box, which talked about what Red Deer is holding on to, that isn't necessarily helping the rest of the communities, because we're holding on to land that could be used for many different things, and resources that are being lost because we're not using the land. So we can't use the resources if we don't have a space. We can't apply for funding if we don't have a building. So creating this type of environment has been a process and a challenging one. And more recently, with the housing crisis, it has been extra challenging for me, having lost my home last year because of this type of situation, and trying to recover as a single mom and an artist, and being in a position where I'm trying to help other people and unable to help myself. So for me, it's more passionate now, because I'm like, I've lived it. I know what you're going through, and so for me, I'm really grateful that I get to have another opportunity here with the TELUS STORYHIVE doing social practices in the House of Wisdom, because we get to collect wisdom from very valuable members of our community and area who have lived experience, who have knowledge of how to create these new practices so that we can stop relying or rely less on systems that end, like a political party. They move on to something new, and then that vision gets lost, and then where are we? With a half-built structure or a half-built system. So for me, and for the work that I do, is to promote healthier living, in different areas, different levels, different categories. So if you're looking at housing, if you're looking at mental health, if you're looking at youth development, if you're looking at farming and growing and agriculture, all the things that are, Albertan, Red Deerian, and specific to this community, these are the things that I want to talk about. These are the things I want to hear about. And these are the things I'd like to see supported on a municipal, on a provincial, on an individual, on a corporate, all of these bodies that make up our community to come together and help us out, give us a fighting chance. And I'm really excited that this podcast has all of these different elements that we can touch on, so that if you have any concerns or anything that you want to add, or any nuggets of knowledge, bring them here so that we can share them with our community.
You're amazing.
Thanks. I sometimes think, wow, how do I get all this stuff done? But the thing is that I have you, and I've got my crew, and I've got organizations that I volunteer with endlessly, because they don't want to let me go. And so, my terms end, and I just do another term, because I really believe in the work that they do. And, I say tirelessly, but no, it is tiring. It is actually really exhausting. Yeah. But you know what? I'm not the only one doing it. Yeah. And that's what keeps me going, is knowing that other people are thriving and new people are coming in. And we're always looking for volunteers. I mean, there's wonderful organizations out there. Where's my pen? It says, I love volunteering. I love volunteering, but it's not always easy. you know, and it's amazing. I like to support, here's a little pin. You can't see it, but I'll get the camera to close in on it later. It's a little circle of a rainbow, and it was a pin given to me by Together Alberta many years ago. It was a program that came through so quickly. If you blinked an eye, you missed it. But it was beautiful. The province of Alberta had funded these wonderful individuals to go around from city to city and say, what do you need? What do you need to do? How do you? And I brought them the idea of a healing space on the Michener lands, and they were like, oh, well, I wish we could help you, but we're just collecting to see what people are doing. And I was like, no, I thought you came to help me out. But you know what I mean? Like, they spurred me on. They were like, yeah, keep doing what you're doing. And I was like, okay, where are the resources? Where are the people? And, the city of Red Deer had a program called Great Neighbors, and an extension of Great Neighbors was a little red pin that said, hello, neighbor. And so I copywrote the hello, neighbor. I took it into the registry, registered it, and called it my own. And so now I can say, hi, hello, neighbor. Welcome to Social Practices, because it's something that I want to keep going for our community.
And thank you for keeping it going. You do so much. I don't even know how you do it. I'm very busy in my own stuff, and I do a lot, but you are the epitome of community-minded and supporting in your community and doing whatever you can to help so many different agencies. So it's super amazing and appreciated.
Well, thank you very much. And I do feel appreciated. I feel needed. I feel valued. And all these wonderful things, I want other people to feel too. Yeah. Because when you got your dark days and you got your different colored days, but in every situation there's something to learn. And there's something to grow from. And whenever I feel like, oh man, I don't want to get up today, I just want to bed 20 more minutes, and I daydream about my bed throughout the day, but it's the people of Red Deer that keep me going and keep me getting up. And I received the Woman of Excellence Award in 2019. And that was just more fuel for the fire. So I just want to, give a thank you to the Red Deer and District community for that, because it really did build in me the desire to keep it going and to help other people reach that space. And since that time, I've seen a few of my other friends also get Women of Excellence Awards, and we got to have some Men of Excellence Awards too, because there's some great guys out there. Yeah. And I know that we all are people, and we can do so much for our community.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Better together, as they say.
Together.
So much can be done. A lot of resources are being left out of the picture because we're not connecting. So thank you for the work that you do to connect.
Well, yeah, and thank you. And thank you, viewers out there, because without you, this message doesn't get through. It doesn't get shared. And that's the most important part, is if you believe in something and if you see someone doing something, give them the support that they need, because maybe somebody along the line might actually benefit from it, right? So as we're working together to, build security in housing, build security in food growing, and in the arts, and all those different topics that we're going to be talking about on this podcast, it really is a community, and you will see that. You will see that this is not just a one-woman show, and I can't do it without the community that I live in, and I'm just really grateful that the people that are in Red Deer are, fighting the good fight. We just need more little soldiers, and I'm really grateful for the talented people that we have here, because Red Deer has a lot of growing to do, and we need to pull those resources and encourage and nurture what is already here for us.
I think people often are afraid to get involved, for one, because they don't really know what that means, but also they don't know what they can do, and those little, there's little too big things. So can you maybe talk a little bit about what are some of the things that people can do to contribute that you've seen as you've been involved with all of these groups and all of the projects that you've been working on?
The most important things that people can do is volunteer. volunteer with different organizations. If you have something that you like, if you like arts, go to the Arts Council. If you like growing things in your garden, go to Rethink Red Deer. If you want to be a part of Canada Day celebrations and you have a cultural interest, go to the Red Deer Cultural Heritage Society or volunteer with Youth HQ. Always looking for mentors, always looking for talented board members. Volunteering is the way to go. The Caribbean Festival, there's so much in our community, and it starts with volunteering, because that's what I've been doing for the past 7 years. Doesn't pay much, doesn't pay at all actually, but you know what? The reward is inside of you, and it really does shine through. And when you have value and you have purpose, then you've got a good life. And that's all I can say about that.